Hey, what's up, everyone? And it's a great day to talk about Legos on Ask MandR episode 312, the series where I answer your questions. If you have a question or topic for next week's episode, leave in the comments section below. If you enjoy these videos, hit the like button, and let's get into it with our first question from Thomas Kelly, who says, would you ever make a video of you buying a fake Lego set and building it out of real Lego parts and comparing it to the real Lego builds? I feel like this would be an interesting video concept to go with your fake Lego themed videos. So I think the closest thing I have done to what you're looking for was probably about 5 years ago, where I would do these real versus fake videos. I think I would like to bring that back because it's basically comparing the actual like physical Lego set versus the complete knockoff one-to-one copy that was released. Now that takes a lot less work than me going out and buying one of these like knockoff builds. So I have the Accolades head here and then trying to recreate it with actual Lego parts, which can range in price and availability on the internet. The other kind of thing with this is that a lot of the knockoff builds that you see me take a look at on the channel, they are unfortunately stolen mocks from other creators and other builders, some of which are just hobbyists, and these companies just go in, completely rip and steal the exact design and then sell it using knockoff parts. So that's kind of like the dirty secret to a lot of it. And so knowing that, though, I could just find the original mock builder, and sometimes they sell the instructions anyway, and it would be reasonably easy to go and do. But I think it's a lot more interesting when it's actual like real Lego sets. So I think if I do more like that, it would be with the real Lego set, not with a mock of a Lego set. But I do like the idea. Next question from Fritz says, do you think we'll ever get more slots for sets per wave of Lego Star Wars? Of course, he probably means. And I feel like we're not at a bad spot of like number of sets of Lego Star Wars sets per year. I think part of why you might be thinking this is because like the January wave had what, 3 sets with the polybag, the battle pack, and the 4+ set, if I'm remembering correctly. Like not a lot of sets in that wave, and so you might want more slots there, but it's just because they've spread it out. It used to basically be January and August, and now it's like January, March, May, June, August, September. They've really spread it out, but like the number of sets is relatively similar. I also read some of the replies to this comment, and a lot of people were citing that it's already expensive enough to collect Lego Star Wars as it is. And while I agree with that, like let's say for example they add like 5 more sets every year, but they're not 5 sets you want, well that doesn't really affect you really, you know, there's just more sets available to other people. But at the end of the day, I still feel like they're releasing a good amount of Lego Star Wars sets each year. I think there is enough to go around. There are enough slots as it is. What really should be added is more slots on the lower end. Like the number of cheap $10 sets is like very low right now. This year we have what, 1 microfighter and 1 mech coming out in the summer, and that's going to be it for $10 to $15 sets. So I feel like that lower end is actually being lost here over the past few years. Lego Brick Quarter says, if you could choose someone you know to be a Lego Star Wars designer, who would it be? This is like picking which of your friends you think would be a good president. My buddy JB designed the BTS Lego set. He would probably be pretty good. I think I wouldn't mind him being a Lego Star Wars designer. But I'm sorry, JB. There's someone else. Someone that I really honestly have hardly ever talked to other than briefly in Instagram DMs and Instagram comments, but solely because I know he has a massive portfolio of work. Brick Wizard 59, and I often comment on his like posts, and I'm like, why doesn't Lego hire you? The guy does really good work. He has a massive portfolio of custom Lego Star Wars sets. He's also done quite a few very cool prequel dioramas, as well as a Revenge of the Sith Duel on the Invisible Hand, plus the General Grievous Chase, including a Phase 2 Commander Cody. I mean, I could go on and on. He's got some incredible builds and just some incredible set concepts, which of course is part of being a designer, I'm sure, is coming up with different concepts for sets and what would be in them. I think he does a really good job at that. He does a really good job of including the right characters. Of course, he might have some more limitations if he actually worked at the company, but what I've seen him do is incredible, and I can't gush about it enough. I mean, he just has some fancy stuff that I love. So it's some of his pipe dream would never happen, but like he clearly has got some talent, and I think he would be a great fit just because of the incredible portfolio of work that I've seen on his Instagram. I would go with Brick Wizard 59. I don't know why Brian wants to know this, but he wants to know if I can test the Thanos gauntlet to see if it can hold the lightsaber promo set builds and tell if it looks decent. Now, this will be without making any modifications, but you could probably modify this so that it actually like connects with bricks and stuff. It can hold it. I'm actually surprised. I thought it was going to fall right out. Does it look decent? No, because it's Thanos' gauntlet. I'm still scared it's going to fall out. It's the Thanos gauntlet holding a lightsaber. Skeptical Jedi says, did you hear about the people arrested in California for allegedly stealing over 300K of Lego to resell? So I'm reading the headline from QZ.com. Never heard of them. They say a California retail task force uncovered a $300,000 Lego heist. And I like when they say it like that because it sounds like they stole $300,000 all at once, which is completely impossible with Lego. This has to be something that took place over likely years, but at the very least months. They say it happened at Target and Lowe's, or retailers like Target and Lowe's. I don't know. Lowe's sells Lego. That's new to me. Does Lowe's sell Lego? I need some intel in the comments. I didn't know that if that's true. I don't go to Lowe's a lot. There's like tons of the brand new Millennium Falcon and TANF 4, and there's probably some helmet sets. Captain Rex and Commander Cody behind there in some of these pictures. Holy crap, I had not seen the pictures. That is a lot of Lego sets. Wow, that looks just like my bedroom. I feel like we hear about this once every few months where some thieves have stolen tons of Lego. I feel like this $300,000 might be the highest dollar amount that I have seen. You know what I really got to wonder is what actually happens to all of this Lego after the police seize it. Like, I wonder if it actually goes back to all of the retail stores individually that they stole it from. Does it go back to the company, like, warehouse somewhere? How do they divvy it up, basically, is what I'm asking. Or do they keep it? Do the police keep it and build it themselves? Probably not. Or do they, like, give it off to, like, a charity, donate it to, like, a kid's hospital or something? Like, I'm really curious, actually, what ends up happening to $300,000 worth of Lego that's just sitting there somewhere that they know is stolen or was stolen and they've now recovered. Like, I think that's a really interesting thing that if anyone has the answer to, I'd be really curious in the comments below. But whenever you get a good deal on Facebook Marketplace, I think you might have an idea of why now. Next question from Mr. Green. He says, do you own the VIP edition of the 2005 Vader's Transformation set? I've been watching you for years and don't recall you ever mentioning the set, let alone owning it. I certainly don't own it. And the only difference between that set and the set that actually released for $7 is a cardboard sleeve. So it's not even like a special set. It's a special sleeve on the set. It's actually strikingly similar to one of the things I hate that Lego Star Wars did in the summer of 2022 with the Kenobi brickheads, and they literally just put a sleeve on it that said, you got it here at Star Wars Celebration. Now, the paper sleeve that they put on at Star Wars Celebration isn't as high quality as the cardboard sleeve that they put on the VIP set. With that sleeve, probably about $4,000 at least. Like, that's the last one I think I saw sell. I probably wouldn't buy it for that much money. It is one of the cooler things of Lego Star Wars history, like, that you can own in a collection. Like, it is a really neat, rare item. But yeah, I've known about it forever, like literally forever. I mean, was it in this book? If I had bought it when I saw it in here, I probably would have only paid like $500, but I didn't have $500 then. I don't know what it was worth exactly then, but just guessing, right? But it's one of those items that doesn't come up for sale like often at all. And then when it does, they want thousands of dollars, or it sells immediately and you just miss it. You know, sometimes someone else beats you to the punch, so you just can't get it. So yeah, it's just one of those items that's rarely for sale. When it is, it's expensive and of course highly sought after by collectors like me. Barb says, what do you think of the new Cody brickheads? And what is your opinion on the UCS Luke being made into a keychain? So I didn't make a video about the Cody brickheads. I just figured I'd make a review when I get it. But the Cody brickheads looks great. It looks better than I thought a Clone Trooper brickheads would look. I'm a little bit disappointed they did not give him his actual Palpatine hologram, but they gave him like the hologram, but they didn't give like the Palpatine piece. That would have been cool, like added detail, but at the very least the idea is there. They've gone the extra mile to at least give him the detail. He's got some great printed parts for all of the details on his chest plate. I think there might be some printing for the face. I'm just like going from memory here. But yeah, overall the brickheads looks really good for a brickheads, and it is an Order 66 set because it shows him with the hologram, so that's pretty sick. It's, I think, the second Order 66 set, with the first Order 66 set being this one. Although technically they're releasing on the same day. Forever, it felt like Lego Star Wars was specifically avoiding Order 66, and it definitely felt like that when the ATTE came out in the summer of 2022, and they did not give Commander Cody his hologram. Like, it felt like actually on purpose, and it almost certainly was, because how do you miss that sort of detail? But it's really cool that the actual Brickheads does have it now, and they've recognized that they were wrong there, you know? So yeah, it doesn't feel like Order 66 is an impossibility to see visited in 2025 now. That's my biggest takeaway from these two sets that are coming out on May 1st, is that Order 66 is kind of on the table, and it didn't feel like that for the last 20 years because they avoided it like the plague. John Paul Reed says, how competitive / hostile are Lego YouTubers with each other? I want to say a lot of people are friends with a lot of people, right? Like a lot of people get along just fine. There's a lot of intermingling, a lot of sharing of ideas. I would say I am one of the more competitive people. Just obviously I have a bit of a slanted bias view of this from my own perspective, but I do always have a competitive itch to scratch personally. I like being the first to release a review if I can. I like making as good a video as I can, and ideally like the best reviews out there, which is ultimately good. Like you end up getting a better review from me and better videos, and that's kind of the idea, I guess. But yeah, I'm probably more competitive than 99% of the other Lego YouTube channels. That's not to say other people don't compete amongst themselves or with other people or whatever. But I feel like the majority of the community is pretty like lax in a way, but just because of like how I've grown up playing a lot of sports, playing a lot of competitive Call of Duty, I just apply that same kind of mindset to making Lego videos, which is a bit weird, but I think it's worked out well for me. It helps drive me. I wouldn't use the word hostile. I don't think I've really experienced that with like creators. But yeah, there's people I don't love and there's people that don't love me, and that's going to happen. But I don't know if I'd use the word hostile. Chase the Sponge King says, I was watching a video on the channel called Retro Blasting and seeing their coverage of the Micro World collection of Kenner Star Wars toys, and noticed that the Hoth Echo base from their line had some striking similarities to the 2016 UCS Hoth set. Is it possible that the designers might have taken a bit of inspiration from the old Kenner toy, since it has the 3 shield generators and the guard tower not seen in the movie? I think you are absolutely correct. So I have also seen this before, and it's very, very likely that that is what happened here, because why else do you do 3 shield generators instead of 4? Like, it's so weird. Outside of the mechanism maybe not working with 4, which I don't believe for a second, that's why you would do 3. Otherwise, you're taking the inspiration from the Kenner toy. You also point out like the little crow's nest thing on top of the Hoth base, and that's probably definitely taken from the Kenner toy. Now, there have been other sets inspired by Kenner toys, which also give some credibility to your idea here, and that would be the Sand Speeder, released in 2017. That was like exactly a Kenner toy. It like doesn't exist really anywhere else, and some people thought it might show up in like a future Star Wars movie or anything. Like, just never really showed up anywhere. It's just a set that Lego made based off a Kenner toy. It's still one of the weirdest releases ever. I don't know why they just thought we should do this. It was kind of cool. It's kind of like what Jedi Bob Starfighter might be this summer, right? I also believe the Ewok Village was somewhat based on an old Kenner toy. I think there are some striking similarities between that and the old Kenner Star Wars toy. So it's definitely something that they do from time to time. I think when Bespin was going to come out, there were some thoughts that Bespin would be based on the Kenner toy, but it wasn't really. Lego just had to be a bit different there, just given what it has to be. But yeah, you're totally onto something. It is definitely a thing that they do from time to time. Luke Brick says, why do you think Lego doesn't make sets based off new content that much anymore? We've barely gotten any Bad Batch or Andor sets, no Tales of the Jedi sets. Do you think Lucasfilm/Disney should make Lego produce at least 1 or 2 sets per show when they release? I am sure that they are contractually obligated to make some amount of content or sets based on new content. That may only apply to live action, as we've seen. There have been no sets for, Bad Batch Season 2, or there was Season 2, I think, with Cad Bane's Justifier, but certainly Tales of the Jedi. But Tales of the Jedi was like a micro mini series, so that might not even count for what Lego, or rather Disney, would want to make Lego do, right? Now, I think part of the reason we're not seeing as many Lego Star Wars sets based on new content, like even if we go back to Mandalorian Season 1, I think they released 2 sets before the show even came out. Or was it just 1 with the ATSD Raider? I can't remember if there was a second one or not. But regardless, they were releasing sets before the show came out. Now they wait till after. Also, these aren't movies. So if we look at The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Han Solo movie, all these were big box office movies, billion-dollar movies that were going to get tons of movie attention and ads and stuff. And that's going to help drive sales for Lego. And so it just isn't worth it to them probably to go and make 4, 5, 6 sets for a new release of a show that they don't know if it's going to do well or not. Like, it did work for Ahsoka, but they knew Ahsoka was going to succeed. They knew they could make some banger sets with Ahsoka, so they kind of put their eggs in that basket. But with Bad Batch and Andor, it's a little bit more iffy. I think it's this type of thing where you have to wait and let it marinate. And if you look back to some of those Last Jedi and Force Awakens waves, you end up with sets that literally aren't even in the movie, so those are completely wasted. In a lot of cases, some of the sets end up being failures because some of them just don't show up enough to have been worth making sets. Like, they wouldn't have made the set if they had the foresight to know that the ship would only be in the scene for a minute and then get blown up, or whatever the case is, right? Like, the Resistance bomber is only barely in the opening scene, and like most people thought it was lame, so the set probably didn't do that well. And so I'm sure they ended up with a lot of sets that didn't sell that great from the sequel trilogy because the movies weren't loved, or the particular scenes or vehicles weren't shown off in really cool ways, or whatever the reason was. But I basically think that because the sequel trilogy was such a flop in a lot of ways, and a lot of people didn't love the merchandise from it, that they've kind of chilled on trying to make too much new stuff, because it's probably a bit of a risk. Jed Volio says, out of all the visual dictionaries, which one should I spend my money on? Please and thank you. Well, this reminds me of spending hundreds of dollars on college textbooks. When I was in college, that was, oh, what a waste of money. That sucked. First up, the original 2009 Visual Dictionary is a legitimate possible choice for you because it's the first one. It has what at the time was every LEGO Star Wars set available, plus it has some really cool behind the scenes stuff at the back of the book. So I think this is a really good option because it's the original. I also don't think the 2019 version is worth it. Both of these have cool behind the scenes stuff, whatever, but like they're just different updated ones of the original. I do think it is somewhat worth it to buy the new one. Now, it's not worth it to buy the new one if you own this one, because there's a lot of crossover stuff. But if you don't own either of them, even though this one has a lot of what's in here, it still does have more stuff. I did the math. If I remember correctly, this one had about 77 pages that were like exactly the same from 2019, which is like rather lame. But it did have like 30 pages of new content, and it had like 30 pages that were updated with new sets. So it does have some new stuff, and it also has a pretty cool Darth Maul throwback minifigure. So I do think this one isn't not worth buying. There is still, the ultimate book out there that is also maybe worth buying. This one's a little bit more expensive, and it doesn't include a minifigure, and it's a little dated now. It's from 2019, if I remember correctly. All the copyright in it says 2017. It has to be from 2017. I vividly remember getting this. Either way, this book is a little bit old. It was originally $40. I remember it came out and I thought it was expensive, but it does have every set to date when it was released, and it shows a ton more info. It's completely different than these books, so it is a nicer book in that way. It's kind of what I was looking for out of this, which I guess it's not what this is, so I really don't know why I was. It is just a book with a ton more pictures and information, so while it is outdated now by like 5 years because they just haven't updated this one, hopefully that's what the leaked 25th anniversary like ultimate book will be. I'm not 100% sure that that's what it is, but I would either buy this book or this book. It just kind of depends on what you want out of it. Like this one's like $22 on Amazon. You're not out that much if you go and buy this book and don't like it, but also this book has way more cooler pictures and stuff. So I would almost go towards the ultimate book, even though it doesn't have the figure. That is going to do it for this week's episode of Ask MandR. If you made it to the end, hit the like button for the lamp. If you guys have a question or topic for next episode that is not about the lamp, leave in the comments section below, and you can subscribe to see more reviews on LEGO Star Wars lamps.